liedje zingen. Het is altijd lastig om iets te doen en te zeggen met Tim erbij. Hè? Tim praat altijd tussendoor. Tim praat altijd tussendoor. Ga jij met de microfoon lopen? Okay. Welcome to the last day of the conference. There were several sessions until now, and we had 2 keynotes yesterday. Today we will pay a bit more attention to some other activities related to EVS. One is about e-value, which will be this afternoon at 1 o'clock. And this session will be about the Monnet Center of Excellence on European Values. We got the grant last year to start this center, mainly the work of Tim Reeskens, who already had a chair, a Monnet chair. So, well, if you have a Monnet chair, you also want a Monnet Center, of course. This conference we are having is also kind of kickoff of this center, and Tim will tell you a bit more about it, and also Leonie Reins will give you some more information about one of the projects. So, Tim?
Thank you, Ruud. Yeah, indeed, it's true. And so today we actually, or like on Monday, we actually have the kickoff of the Monnet Center of Excellence. And indeed, we talked about the past, the present, the future of European values research. And I think that over the last few days, we talked a lot about the past and the present. We honored Luc Hallman for his contribution to the European value study over the last decades. But today we also want to talk a little bit more about the future. What will we actually do in the next few years with European value study? How can we actually valorize it? Make it also important for politics. We do know, I see Paul Dekker in the room over here, that politics actually uses a lot of these kind of surveys, like the European value study. How do people, how do citizens actually, what do they find important? Not only questions about trust in politics, but also questions about, okay, how are they oriented towards welfare? How are they oriented towards immigrants and so forth? So we want to really reach out to politics more in the years to come. What Ruud also said is that I have this Jean Monnet share on identities and cohesion in the changing European Union. Where we also wanted to use the European value study actually more in education. So I took over Luc's courses on national regional identities together with Arnold Jan Bijsterveld, and also the learning project in liberal arts is also completely tailored on the European value study. So we wanted, when I was changing your course, I really wanted to use the atlas actually, where you have these really nice maps. And you can ask students, well, okay, Focus on one of these maps and actually write a whole paper around it where you do a bit more complicated analysis than just having these descriptive maps. So in the years to come, now we have actually the printed version of the atlas. Well, it will be very nice material for students as well. So the Jean Monnet Center of Excellence. Actually why, what it actually came about. And I think that I see Jantien also in the room over here. In the afternoon, Jantien will also talk a bit more about values at Tilburg University. But recently, also Tilburg University launched its new strategic plan for the next 5 years, if I'm correct. And you might have seen the banners, the weaving minds and character. And this actually, one of the themes that's being discussed in this strategic plan is that indeed to advance society, to have better insights in society, to work on very complex issues like migration, sustainability, democratization, a strong Europe in the world, you need to have this interdisciplinary character. The university is investing a lot in making interdisciplinary research possible. And with the Jean Monnet Center, what we actually want to do is bring together several disciplines. At all schools at university, there is research going on, there is teaching going on in Europe, but we hardly talk with each other. And the idea of the Jean Monnet Center is to bring together all these corners, all these schools, all the departments that work on Europe, bring them together to enrich the debates, to provide novel insights into these complex topics like sustainability, like migration, democratization, international relations, and so forth. So we have like multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary research. It also comes back in novel insights on education, that there are also interdisciplinary research programs and teaching programs possible where Europe is also a bit more coming to the fore. But also in policy developments. We kicked off on Monday with Mario Scharfbelig, his presentation of this report's values and identities, where also Luc Hallman contributed to, and other people familiar with the EVS, or committed to the EVS, like Frédéric Gontier, Pippa Norris. So several people familiar with the EVS contributed to this report on values and identities. And it actually shows that policymakers also are struggling with the concept of identities and values. And that sometimes when they want to pursue difficult policies, or policies that are not always that easy, like for instance, on the topic of sustainability, sometimes we are, what we also show in the Atlas, people find it important, or fighting climate change, they find it important. But sometimes it conflicts with other issues. Not everyone, for instance, wants to have a windmill in the backyard. So you do actually see that, values are one thing, but there might be stumble blocks in other respects. And reports like this, like values and identities, it highlights the topic of values, topics of polarization, where societies these days are struggling with. So with the Jean Monnet Center, substantive-wise, we borrowed some insights from the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, because indeed we want to have a substantial agenda, and she put forward these 6 political aims of the current European Commission, and these 6 aims are a European Green Deal, where, for instance, Frans Timmermans, the Dutch Vice President of the European Commission, is responsible for. She wants to work on a European economy that works for all people, a Europe fit for the digital age, protecting our European way of life, a stronger Europe in the world, and a new push for European democracy. These 6 themes that we want to work on, yes, they're reflected, they're pushed forward by Ursula von der Leyen, but they also come back actually in the research programs of our university. So for all these 6 themes, we found people working at university that are advancing insights, more institutional insights on this topic. And we from the European Values Study, doing values research at the Sociology Department, we want to connect with the more institutional insights from these other colleagues here at Tilburg University. But what's the Jean Monnet Center? I think that's also very important to highlight because we have these teams. They want to combine, they want to advance insights and research as well as teaching activities at university. So they want to bring together, they want to institutionalize research and teaching on Europe. And if you look around at some other Jean Monnet centers at universities here in the Netherlands, you can, for instance, see that University of Leiden has a Jean Monnet Center where they also discuss, they advance insights, research findings, teaching on comparative regional integration. You have the Amsterdam Center for European Studies, which is also a Jean Monnet Center. You have here in Maastricht, the Center for European Research in Maastricht, where they indeed bring together all these findings and teaching activities on Europe as well. And now we're happy, actually, that on Monday we officially kicked off the Jean Monnet Center of Excellence of European Values here in Tilburg. So what are our plans, actually? What do we want to do in the next few years? First of all, we want to bring together teaching activities. And these teaching activities, first and foremost, are being boiled down in a module for Engage University. Maybe some of you are frowning like, what's Engage University? Engage University is a combination of 7 universities across Europe that are intensely trying to work together. Tilburg is being joined with Mannheim, Vienna, Sofia, Bergen, Toulouse, and Rome. And the idea is actually that students can, via hybrid teaching, follow some courses this way. And so the idea is we brought together 4 courses in one module, where we discuss actually some institutional aspects of the European Union, like the economics of European integration by colleague Harald Benink, or Introduction to European Governance by Martijn Groenleer. And myself, I will actually also deliver my 2 courses that are more tailored on the European value study. So the idea is that these courses, they're offered as a module, so 18 ECTS that students can follow in a hybrid way. So students will actually use Zoom. So students in Tilburg, they will be physically present to follow the course, but it's possible that students from Mannheim and students from Sofia, that they use these, that they follow these courses in a hybrid way. It will be interesting, it might be challenging, but it will also be very enriching for our students to be confronted also with very international students that might have a different educational background, that might have already like courses or like a course, introductory course on this topic, and can enhance the discussion in this course as well. So that's the first part of the Jean Monnet Center. We are offering this module. We want to work on Europe in our curriculum as well. But we also want to deliver new insights on these 6 domains that Ursula von der Leyen proposed. That's also being worked out well here at our university. And we have some activities over here that are being planned or currently taking place. And for these 6 domains, these 6 topics, we are going to organize workshops. And for each of these teams, I have listed the names of people working together or people working on these teams at Tilburg University. Like a European Green Deal, we have Saskia Lavrijse, Harald Benink, but also Leonie is also working on that. An economy that works for all people, Ton Wildhagen. He's also at the law school, just like Leonie and Saskia. But Harald Benink is at the economics faculty, so it's a different school. A Europe Fit for the Digital Age is Marjolein Anteunis. She's at the Tilburg School of Humanities and Digital Science, again, a different school. Protecting the European Way of Life by Monique van Dijk Groeneboer. She's at the Theology School. It actually shows that all the schools here at Tilburg University they're combined in this Jean Monnet Center. A Stronger Europe in the World will be led by Martijn Groenleer. And last but not least, a new push for European democracy is being coordinated by Frank Hendricks, who actually has a very advanced grant from the Nationale Wetenschapsagenda, the Dutch Science Agenda. And with this Jean Monnet Center, we also hope to present these novel findings that Frank Hendricks will actually obtain in this research project. So yeah, we're organizing. We want to feed workshops. So how? Because we're working on European values, and as we sometimes know, well, our insights sometimes are maybe not always that novel, because we're having data of 2017 at this moment. But we want to actually we're gathering new data soon to feed the first three workshops. So we're going into the fields. We're using the list panel. To advance insights on the European Green Deal, an economy that works for all people, Europe fit for the digital age. And the first data collection is being planned now in August, where we want to do more than just asking people survey questions. We also want actually to offer vignette experiments. So with a few options, we want to tease out like what's actually the mechanism, like what kind of policies, what kind of nuances in policies or proposals are really appealing to people, that we can actually establish the link between values research and political decision making. Yeah, so the workshop should actually, we're planning. The first one is being organized by people working on sustainability, on the European Green Deal. Well, they ideally have like 4 ingredients, so they should offer challenges on the respective domains. So we want to have insights on, okay, how are we dealing with this European Green Deal? What kind of challenges are we facing these days in terms of climate change, but also in terms of policy making? Because at European level, it's also a lot of challenging issues are taking place. Then we want to offer insights about the public legitimacy. So how are people oriented towards these themes? So to what extent do they actually accept certain political proposals about fighting climate change, for instance? How are they oriented to flex security, work-life balance, when we talk about a Europe that works for all people? Or what do they think about certain kind of democratic initiatives when we talk about the final theme that Frank Hendricks will cover? So these insights will come from the EVS, from our team, while yeah, the colleagues from the other schools will actually deliver the more institutional framework. What are the challenges that we're dealing with these days? We want to establish the link with policy making. So ideally, we also hope to reach out to politicians. We and do know that Saskia and Harald, they're working very hard to invite Frans Timmermans. We hope it's possible, so that in October, the first session on the European Green Deal is actually with a high-level, yeah, the vice president of the European Commission here in Tilburg. And of course, we have these famous Tilburg initiatives called network opportunities, also known as borrels. So what are other initiatives? We want to reaching out to teachers. Inge Siebe will, in the afternoon, will present on eValue project. And a lot of initiatives are actually being taken to connect teachers to values research. And we want to do this as well with results from the Jean Monnet Center. Yeah, interaction with policy practitioners, but also public outreach. Studium Generale. Studium Generale is an initiative here in Tilburg that offers these talks, information events for people outside university as well. Like the other day, I talked about Ukrainian values, something that Plamen and I are working on together. So we want to open up insights on values research also to a broader audience. Ideally, we want to institutionalize European Studies Center at Tilburg University and gain increased visibility among students, policymakers and so forth, that we, Tilburg University, has a very bright agenda on European studies research. And of course, ideally, we also want to establish grant opportunities because research, advancing research will be done interdisciplinary. If we combine our efforts here at Tilburg with other schools, well, we hope to enhance research findings. Our first application, we'll talk about the new Green Deal. The first workshop is being coordinated by Saskia Lavrijse, Harold Benning, Laura Kashny, and Leonie Reins. And I would like to invite Leonie to give a bit of a framework on this new Green Deal.
For you. you?
We do that after you.
Yeah, okay, thanks. Thanks, everybody. I'm indeed here from the law faculty. Which touches upon two values that Tim just mentioned, namely the sustainability value and the democracy value. And in this project, we look at the role of law in achieving a sustainable energy democracy. So what is sustainable energy democracy? This concept emerged in the context of the clean energy transition and has decentralization as a very important element of that transition. However, the roots of the concept, they are rather an activism or social movements, which actually you can also see by the fact that the first publications on the topic are rather manifestos and not really academic articles. It has, however, a couple of years ago been extremely taken up by academics in the European Union and the United States, and raised a number of questions in the area of social sciences very broadly on the functioning role and legal nature of it. So with this, it has been in the past used as in the context with very different meanings, such as a concept, an idea, a tool, a theory, and an objective. And with that framing, it risks to remain nothing more than a buzzword, something that sounds really nice, energy democracy, no one is against it. But we, from the law faculty, we said we need to make it a bit more conceptual and have a bigger underpinning of it to be based in the law and not just remain a buzzword. So in this regard, we say that there are two very fundamental elements that form the core of the idea. First of all, a clean, decentralized energy system on the one hand, the sustainability aspect very clear, and then the fair distribution of burdens and benefits of the energy sector on the other hand, so the more democracy aspect. So what does that now mean actually for law? Here, something that we lawyers call the triers comes into play, departing from the perspective that there are three types of norms. First of all, rules, then principles, and lastly, objective. A rule is setting forth a very precise solution for a specific fact, and once the condition for application have been fulfilled, there's a clear legal solution. So it's pretty straightforward. You do something and then you get a result. A principle, by contrast, is providing more general orientation and direction than rules. And principles are more abstract and guiding policy measures than rules. And the concrete implementation of principles can only be done by rules. So due to this very different nature, principles allow for more discretion than rules. And then there's a third category which comes into play, namely objectives. And objectives are even more abstract than principles and provide general orientation for the decision makers, such as the European Union, for example. And very often you can't really say that they're fulfilled or unfulfilled in the same way as, for example, you can do with rules. So that's from the more legal background. If we now take an example of environmental protection within the European Union. This is a snapshot of the European Treaty of the functioning of the European Union. So if you want to put it like that, the Constitution of Europe, but lawyers will kill for explaining me like this with the Constitution. So, but to give you a general idea, this is where everything is based in. And then, as you can see here, it's very straightforward that the Union policy on the environment shall contribute to the pursuit of the following objectives, amongst others, preserving, protecting, improving the quality of the environment. And then in the second intent, you can clearly see it shall be based on the precautionary principle and the principles for preventive action, polluter pays principle, and rectification at source. So you can very nicely see this category. And then the third category, rules would be a provision in an environmental act of the member states, for example, but could also be in a directive or regulation. So, what does that now mean for the legal characterization of sustainable energy democracy? In the book, we suggest that we should frame sustainable energy democracy in a legal context as an objective, and we put forward the principle of sustainable development as the main guiding principle for this purpose, also because sustainable development has very strong standing within the European constitutional framework, but also as a value, as you can see here on both of these the slides as well. And then energy's rules should aim to reconcile the interests of the social and economic development on the one hand with environmental protection needs. So, and I said this is a bit of a teaser. So what we do in the book then apply this more constitutional or normative framework to 10 examples, and Tim already highlighted to the fact that we are all in general interested in having wind farms, but then we don't want to have them in our backyard. So this is one of the case studies actually how this can potentially be solved by enacting community benefit agreements. So this is something we look at. And Tim also very much highlighted that there's also still a lot of need for the center to, and us from the law faculty to further, carry out further research. And in the book we have highlighted 4 overarching themes, which in from a legal perspective are important to kind of implement and further develop this objective of sustainable energy democracy. These relate to the role of energy markets, ownership, then community benefits. So if we want to have those benefits, we want to have the wind farms in our backyard, what can we do so that people accept them and are happy with them? Do we give community benefits? Who needs to provide them? Is it the developer of the wind farm? Is it the municipality? Is it whoever? And also, should they be mandatory or voluntary? And then other examples kick in, such as the role of trade rules. I don't know if you've heard about the carbon border market adjustment mechanism, but there are also very interesting values discussion surrounding that as part of the European Green Deal. And I think I will keep it to this for now, because we only have 3 minutes left, and looking forward to, in the coming years, to discuss these insights more within the framework of the center. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Leonie, and thank you, Tim. 3 minutes left, so if there are any comments or questions, please. If not, I think we can go for lunch. And we will be back here at 1 o'clock for the next session. Enjoy your lunch.